Let's take a look at the Oculus Quest 2 VR headset from Facebook, and this is going to be my full review of the product after using it for about 3 weeks now of daily use, and I have a lot to say about this product. But before then, I'm just going to give you my short and sweet answer if you don't want to watch the full review, and that would definitely be that as of right now, I definitely think this is worth the price easily. First and foremost, this is going to be the cheapest VR headset on the market at $299, which typically that's not the case with most VR headsets. They're much more expensive. And then on top of buying the headset, you do need to have a gaming PC, where this is a standalone VR headset. You buy this for $299 and you're pretty much done. You can use it on its own. You don't need to buy any other equipment. And then it is the cheapest VR headset on the market at $299, so it's very convenient and very cheap. But don't let the price tag surprise you. Even though it is the cheapest VR headset on the market, for what it does, it is a phenomenal VR headset, and I can almost recommend this to anybody, especially for people who never tried VR in the first place. I really do think there is something here for you at $299. I don't think that's necessarily breaking the bank, at least in the VR world, and if you don't like it, you can always sell it off or whatever the case may be. And I think at $299, especially for a person that's unsure about VR or never tried VR, this is definitely one good deal. Just take notice with the Oculus Quest 2 from Facebook. Unfortunately, you do need a Facebook account to actually use this. You cannot use it if you do not have a Facebook account, which is kind of strange, especially since Facebook in the past said, oh yeah, we would never allow people to actually log in to Facebook to use our Oculus devices, but that's clearly thrown out the window here. So just take notice when you do buy this Oculus Quest 2, you are going to need a Facebook account or this thing will not work. Now, with that out the way, I actually want to talk about what comes in the box so you can see your buying experience. Now, when it comes to pricing, this does come in two different models. It comes in a $299 bundle, and it comes in a $399 bundle, and the only difference is going to be storage options. And yes, you cannot upgrade the storage later down the road if you want, so make sure you choose wisely. Now, it's going to come in at $299 for the base model, and the base model is going to come with 64 gig, and then you can get a $399 bundle, which is going to come in 256 gig. But I think since this is running on a mobile architecture and it's running a lot of mobile-y-esque games, I think 64 gig for a lot of people is definitely going to be okay for the mainstream consumer, and 64 gigs is a lot even in my case. And another thing I didn't mention about the Oculus Quest is the fact that you can use it as a standalone VR headset, which is very nice, or you can actually plug it into a gaming PC if you have a gaming PC and pretty much play anything on Steam that you would normally play with another VR headset. So keep that in mind. So it's great they have those different functionalities. And the nice thing is when you play this with a gaming PC, if you want to connect it, you have two different options of connecting it. You can connect it with a cable, or you can actually do wireless gameplay if you want to. If your internet is fast enough and your connection is nice, you can do that. But here's the box the Quest actually comes in. Let's go ahead and open it, and you can see here's everything that does come in the box. Now, when it comes to color options for the Quest, unfortunately, you only have one option. You only have this white color, but I guess it stands out from the crowd since most VR headsets are going to be a black color, so it is kind of nice. It is a change of pace from the other ones. Here's everything that comes in the box. You got your headset, you got your motion controllers, you do have a manual and a power supply and a cable in the box, which is nice. Now, when it comes to battery life, I didn't talk about battery life yet. Really quickly, the battery life situation goes like this. Since this is a standalone VR headset, it does have a battery. The battery is pretty mediocre, to be honest. It only gets about 2 hours of battery for the main headset, and that is kind of short. but I guess you can always power it off like a power bank, or you can run it off the wall, because you can use this plugged in at all times if you want to run it like that. So the 2-hour battery pretty much becomes longer once you plug it in the wall, and it's not really that big of a deal. But 2 hours for a standalone VR headset is kind of mediocre, especially since when you're sitting in here, hours can go by really quickly. But let's go ahead and take out the VR headset, and then let's go ahead and take out the controllers and take out everything, and then let me talk about all this. And then when it comes to the actual controllers itself, here are the actual motion controllers. Now these motion controllers do run on one AA battery apiece, and they're in here right now. What I can say about the AA battery with the motion controllers, they are phenomenal for what they are. I've been playing pretty much about 2 or 3 hours a day for about 3 weeks now, and believe it or not, in my situation the batteries are still at 100%. That shows you how good the battery life is in this thing. And I think for a lot of people, you won't really have to worry about always buying batteries for these things. And of course, if you want to buy rechargeable AA batteries, you could always do that as well. But here are the motion controllers that come inside of the box with this thing, and they do feel pretty good. They are pretty much made out of plastic, but I pretty much like everything about these. I guess the only thing I don't like, since I never really played too many VR headsets in the past outside of PlayStation VR, is definitely the fact I don't like the triggers on the side. I think the triggers on the side, they don't necessarily feel bad to press per se, but they're just kind of in a weird spot. So you kind of have to train your brain. Oh, there's a trigger on the back, and then there's a trigger on the side of the actual controllers, and that's something I did have to get used to over time. But it's kind of becoming second nature now. I guess the only other thing I don't like about these controllers is the little analog sticks. These kind of feel like the Joy-Cons from Nintendo if you ever use a Switch. I do not like those. They just feel too small, especially in games where you have to walk around a lot or move around a lot. They can be kind of small. Another thing I don't like about these controllers at all definitely has to be the fact that I don't like that big like circular dome it has at the top. It's not really ugly, but just the fact that when you play games, sometimes I've accidentally kind of hit these together when I'm playing games, when I'm moving around. And I think for a lot of people out there who get this, once in a while you're accidentally gonna hit both of the controllers together, just because some games are very intensive, or some games make you have your hands pretty close together. I wish these circular domes were removed, but I don't know if that's just part of the controllers or that's just the design. But if they could remove them somehow and make them smaller, that would be appreciated. But overall, I do like the controls here. You have an analog stick on both of them, you have buttons, and then you have triggers on the back, and then these are motion controlled just like a Wiimote or anything else that has motion. But yeah, overall these are pretty solid controllers. I really have no complaints about them, and again, the battery life is phenomenal for what they are. And of course, they do come with straps, and I highly recommend using the straps, just because some games are very intensive, and I'm definitely sure you can accidentally throw these if you're not being careful, so be careful with that. But overall, very good controllers for what they are. And then we do have this box right here, and here's the box that comes with all your paperwork and manuals. It does come with a power supply, which I don't have the power supply on hand, but it is a standard one you get with a phone. But it's not USB-A, it's actually USB-C to USB-C, so keep that in mind. And then you do get some paperwork in the box. And the nice thing about the Oculus as well, you can use your own charger. You're not stuck with what Oculus gives you in the box or Facebook gives you in the box. But here's the two papers. Feel free to pause the video if you want to quickly see what they are. They're not too useful, but they do give you a quick start guide, and then they do give you a reference guide or whatever. There they are right there, but that's nice. You can use your own charger as well from your other phones. And here's the highlight of the show, the Oculus Quest 2 itself. And another thing they do give you in the box is a glasses spacer if you are a person that wears glasses. I do wear glasses, unfortunately, and I do have to wear the glasses spacer. The glasses spacer is actually on the headset right now. Let me go ahead and pop it off so you can actually see what the glasses spacer actually looks like if you were curious about the glasses spacer. Now here is the glasses spacer that comes in the box, and it doesn't come pre-installed. You do have to install it, but it's very easy to actually install the glasses spacer. I guess now that I'm on camera, I do actually want to show you how the glasses spacer actually goes on your VR headset. So here's how the VR headset actually comes in the box, and all you really want to do is take your other hand and then pretty much go around the foam padding, and you pretty much want to pull up, and as you're pulling up on the foam padding, it will come off. At first it does seem like it may break off, and you may be applying a little bit too much pressure, but I'm telling you, once you start applying pressure, it comes off very easy. You can see I already started applying a pressure and it's coming off, and it was meant to come off, so don't worry about that. And then once you apply enough pressure, it just pops off. You have to apply a little bit more pressure than probably what you're expecting, so just keep that in mind, but I can assure you nothing is going to break. And then all you want to do is take the naked headset, and as you take the naked headset, you just want to take this spacer, this glasses spacer, and just plop it on. And you cannot make a mistake on how this goes on, because literally it only goes on one way. And the nice thing about the glasses spacer and even the foam padding is it automatically sits into a place, and you can't you don't have to worry about like trying to fit it on or anything like that. It pretty much just plops in place once you got it lined up. You take the foam padding that goes around your face, and then you just plop it on top of the glasses spacer. And there you go. It's pretty much on the headset right there, and I'm pretty much done. But let's go ahead and go back to the headset itself. So here is the headset right here. On the front of it, it does actually say Oculus, but you can't read it because it is white on white. Unfortunately, on the front of this thing, it does have 4 cameras, and no, those 4 cameras aren't actually for taking pictures. They're actually for spatial awareness, because this thing does need to track where you're playing, because of course you do have motion controllers. Alongside the motion controllers, this thing actually has hand tracking as well. Not every application or every game does support hand tracking, but the main menus of the Oculus and browsing the web does have hand tracking, so keep that in mind, which is very nice. And then with the cameras alongside tracking your play space, you can actually get a pass-through mode, which basically allows you to see your surroundings when you want to like get a glass of water, or maybe go to the restroom, or ring the doorbell, or check your phone, or check something around you. You can go into passive mode, which pretty much allows you to see your world around you. Just keep in mind that passive mode is going to be black and white, and it's kind of blurry and it's kind of laggy, but it's better than nothing. So that's nice. They give you all those features right out the box with the cameras, besides just tracking your play space, which is nice. And then going to one side of the headset, you can see it does have a standard 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. Now, you are not obligated to use that headphone jack, just due to the fact that this thing does have speakers built on it, but I can tell you from experience, the speakers are kind of tinny and don't sound the best, but if you're desperate, they will work. But they do give you an option for 3.5. I highly recommend using that, especially if you're playing in an area where you have people around that don't want to be bothered, because this thing does get fairly loud. The quality, again, isn't the best, but it does get so loud enough to where people may be bothered in the room. And of course, this is VR we're talking about after all, and you want to make sure that you get the most immersive experience altogether, then that's where that comes in. You do have USB Type-C charging, of course. This runs on a battery, like I said before, and you can actually run this off a power supply, power bank, or you can run it off the wall if you have a long enough cord. So that's nice to extend your play sessions. And then moving to the bottom, you do have plus and minus, and that pretty much does one thing. It controls the volume of the headset, whether you're using headphones or the built-in speakers. That's how you control them. And then you do got microphones around the headset if you want to talk to people in games, or if you're streaming the games from the headset, you can talk to your party or to your chat room, which is nice to actually have that. And on the other side, you do have a power button, just like a phone. You can hold it down to power it off. You can also just click it if you just want to put it in standby mode, if you're going to be coming back in a little bit. And then it does have a charging light right next to that as well, so you can see when this thing is actually done charging, and yeah, that's pretty much everything on the headset. The nice thing about this headset is also the fact that you can change the strap that does come in the box. If you don't like the strap that comes in the box, that is the standard strap that comes in the box. I guess first and foremost, let's actually go over the comfort level of this thing and how this sits on your head. You'll hear a lot of people on the internet have a lot of mixed feelings when it actually comes to the comfort of this thing. When I first bought this thing, I didn't know how to put it on. It felt very uncomfortable. A lot of people will tell you you need the official Elite strap that Facebook does sell separately. You need to buy a third-party strap. But in my experience, after using it for about a week, that's when I really found out how to use this thing. And it will vary from user to user. Even if you have this for a while, some people still may need to buy a third-party option or the first-party option from Facebook to make this thing more comfortable. I am coming from the PlayStation VR. That's the VR headset I played the most outside of this. And I can tell you, I still think the PlayStation VR headset slightly wins by a little bit. When I put on the PlayStation VR headset, in my experiences and in my head, I can sit in there for practically ever and I never feel any discomfort. This one, I do feel a little bit of discomfort and I can feel it on my head, but it's nowhere near as bad as when I first initially got the headset. I think for most people out there who buy this headset, really don't know how to put on the headset correctly and really don't know how to put on the strap correctly. You really have to just keep messing with it until it fits your head. For me personally, I have to have the headset very loose on my head. I have it so loose on my head, it feels like it's going to fall off when I'm playing it, but I can assure you it doesn't feel like it's going to fall off when I'm playing it. It's just, that's the way I have to have it. And like I said before, it doesn't really fall off my head, even in games that are very intensive and I move around a lot. So that's actually really good news. But for me, I don't need another strap because the strap in the box is very comfortable. Will it be more comfortable if I bought another strap? Yeah, most likely it could be a little bit more comfortable. But as it stands right now, I am okay with the strap that actually comes in the box. So I'm just going to continue on using that strap. So for the most part, my comfortability level has gone really up with this headset, but again, it will vary from person to person. Now let's actually talk about what you came here for, the games and of course the resolution of the headset. Typically when it comes to VR, the more resolution you have in the headset and the less grainy it is, the more immersion you're going to have and the more better off the games are going to play and all the applications are going to look. Facebook claims over the Oculus Quest 1, this one has 50% more pixels or something like that in the actual headset. So basically the resolution is more higher in the headset. I can't confirm or deny that since I never had the Oculus Quest 1. I did actually use, like I said before, the PlayStation VR headset the most out of any other VR headset on the market prior to this. And I can tell you right away, the clarity of this thing is amazing. Now, of course, if you're coming from something like expensive VR headsets like the Valve Index on the PC side, of course, that's not going to compare to this, of course. We're talking about a headset that's about double or even triple the price of this thing, and it's running off a gaming PC, of course. That's not really a fair comparison. But for what it is, for $299, I think most people on the market aren't going to be disappointed with the resolution. Now, the resolution may be kind of blurry in some games, and especially if you don't have it set up correctly as well, because you do have to have it set up correctly, not just with this VR headsets, but a lot of VR headsets. And I think for some people, just like the head strap, they don't really set it up right. Once you set it up right, it shouldn't be blurry. But sometimes when you set up VR headsets, no matter how good you set them up, sometimes they're not lined up with your eyes correctly and you still get a little bit of blurriness. But for the most part, like I'm telling you guys, the resolution in this thing is absolutely fantastic. And when I first put this thing on, I was definitely blown away. I mean, again, I was coming from something like the PlayStation VR headset, which that thing came out in like 2016 or something like that, and that thing is a little bit older than this thing. It doesn't have the best resolution on the market, and this one is amazing for what it is. You also got to take in consideration this thing is actually a headset that is a standalone VR headset that's not connected to anything. You can use it wirelessly, so that's something that is pretty impressive to say the least. So I'm very happy with the resolution. One thing I did notice about this headset is definitely the fact that when you put it on your head, you can kind of see light bleed coming from your nose area, but as long as you're not paying attention and the more immersive the game is, it's gonna go away. But sometimes you do notice the little light bleed from your nose, and it can actually be there no matter how good you put the headset on. That's just something to take in consideration. When it comes to games, I'm pretty much happy with a lot of the experiences on here, and I think there is a game for everybody. The nice thing about VR, if you never used VR before, you don't necessarily have to play games. You can play games, but there are a whole bunch of different applications you can do. Like for instance, if you just want to browse the web, you can browse the web. If you just want to watch movies and things like that on the headset, you can do that as well. If you just want to go into different worlds that have applications for that, you can do a number of different things than just playing games. But for the most part, VR is still pretty much geared towards the gaming side of things more so than anything. Two games off the top of my head I do want to recommend really quickly if you own a VR headset of any kind, maybe besides PlayStation VR. I do want to recommend VR Chat and Rec Room. I know a lot of people already know about these applications, especially VR Chat. It's a very popular application, but the reason I'm recommending those two applications is because VR Chat and Rec Room are both free to play, and they give you a lot of value for your money. They give you so much content in VR Chat and also in Rec Room. You really don't need to buy another application ever again if you wanted to, honestly, in my opinion, because again, VR Chat and Rec Room are so amazing experiences. So amazing experiences. It's like, why even pay more money for games when those games give you so much value for pretty much free, which is nice to say the least. And then other things I do want to mention is I like pretty much everything about this headset. I've had no complaints about this headset. I have no regrets about this headset. I can definitely see standalone VR being the future of VR, even though we do have better options out there on the market, just due to the fact that this is so convenient and so practical for a lot of people out there. You don't need to be stationary. I will have to tell you guys two things I did notice when using this headset, or two things I did find out about using this headset, which I probably should have said earlier in the video, just because you may not watch the whole video. But one thing is the fact that be very careful with this headset, because this thing can get very damaged if you use it in sunlight. If you use it outside, you're pretty much going to destroy the lens. I even heard if you're right next to a window when you're gaming, or when you're done with the headset, if you put it on like a window ledge or whatever, it may accidentally damage the headset. So be careful with that as well. This thing is very sensitive to sunlight. Sunlight is just too harsh on it. And of course, just like any other VR headset, make sure you do not scratch the lenses. Once you scratch the lenses on this thing, you're pretty much toasted, and you're pretty much goodbye VR headset. Now when it comes to the downsides of this thing, I honestly can't really think of any downsides. To be honest, maybe I wish the motion tracking was better, but also it does depend on where you play this thing. Also, if you are going to be playing games on this thing, you can't play games in the dark, unfortunately, because it won't be able to track your hands, or it won't be able to track the controllers in the box. You will need to have some type of light. The more light, the better, actually, but again, just don't use direct sunlight, so you can't play this outside, or it will pretty much be toasted. But the more light, the better when it comes to tracking things in the headset. And outside of just the two games I mentioned, Rec Room and VR Chat, I have played a number of different games. I have played the infamous Beat Saber game, which everyone knows is one of the best, if not the best, VR game. Granted, it's not for everybody, but it is a very fun time if you ever played Beat Saber. And if you don't know about Beat Saber, it is pretty much a rhythm game where you pretty much have two lightsabers, and you pretty much take these sabers, and it's pretty much like Guitar Hero, but instead of strumming a guitar, you have two lightsabers, and then you just smash notes on a screen, which is actually pretty cool. And they all have licensed songs in Beat Saber, and I absolutely love Beat Saber. There's also this Walking Dead game. I can't remember the full name of that game, but if you love first-person shooters, or if you love being immersed in worlds or being kind of spooked, that game is absolutely phenomenal. They also have another game on here called Population 1. It is a battle royale for VR. There's nothing crazy about that game. It's pretty much just a VR battle royale. And fun fact, you don't really need to pay for that because Rec Room does have its own version of that with a battle royale in Rec Room, which is absolutely free. And then I've also tried Real Fishing VR, and Real Fishing VR is pretty good for an experience if you love fishing. I was surprised by how good that game is. I do have to agree with some people out there. Pretty much anything you try in VR is pretty much going to be immersive. How immersive is VR? Well, it's going to depend on what type of game you play, and if you have the headset set up right, if it's not comfortable on your head, what type of headphones you're using, the environment you're playing in. But overall, I really do think VR has come a long way since the days of something like Samsung Gear VR, which I have tried before, and that thing was pathetic. It was not good at all. The phones would overheat over time. The resolution was grainy, blurry. It didn't really immerse me. But this thing, honestly, for the second attempt at Facebook making a standalone VR headset, I think this is a very immersive experience. And again, just like I said at the beginning of the video, if you buy this thing, you will not be disappointed. Now, how often are you actually going to play this? And is this going to be something that's just a novelty, kind of like some stuff you buy and after a while you don't end up using? I can't personally say, because I think it's going to vary from person to person. You really have to find that game that's going to fit you. You also have to make sure you're not going to get motion sickness. You also have to make sure if the headset's comfortable. There's a whole bunch of different things that'll determine how often you're going to play with your VR headset. But for me, I practically play this every day. At this point, to be honest, I don't play every day, but I do play enough to where I still think this thing is worth it. And I do play it from time to time, maybe every other day, or maybe like 3 or 4 times a week. I still play it enough to where I think this thing is definitely worth my money, and I am going to get my money's worth out of this headset. And if you are also thinking about buying the Oculus Quest, just note the Oculus Quest actually has one of the biggest stores out there when it comes to VR games and VR applications, just due to the fact that the Oculus brand and the Oculus Quest, whether it's the one or the two, does have a very big fan base, and a lot of units have already sold. So don't be worried about no one supporting this. Developers are actually going to probably support this more than PC VR gaming, just due to the fact that there is more people who own this headset than the other options on the market, and this one is just doing so well, and it's already confirmed that it's so successful for Facebook. It's kind of like, yeah, why wouldn't devs support this? And it's kind of like more exclusives are probably going to come to this than something like PC VR, just because, like I said again, so many people own this. So don't worry about software not coming. Software is definitely going to keep coming for this headset. And the nice thing also, if you never used VR gaming, you can either stand up or sit down for a VR gaming. And the nice thing is too, in the settings, they allow you to choose your playing style. Do you want to stand up or sit down? And some games are good for sitting down, other games are better for standing up. And then also each individual game does have settings for standing and sitting down. It depends on what type of game you're playing, so that's nice. So don't think every game you have to play in VR necessarily has to be a standing up or a sitting game. It just depends. Now, one thing I am disappointed about, actually, since I did forget to mention, is the fact that for some reason, for me, no matter how comfortable this thing is on my head and I finally have it adjusted, I cannot for the life of me figure out how to play this thing in bed. When I play this thing in bed, it's practically unusable because, one, it feels very uncomfortable. I don't know why it is. Maybe It has something to do with the weight distribution being different than sitting in a chair or standing up. But the real problem besides that is the fact that when I look up in games, the headset won't adjust to the actual game, if that makes sense. And then when I'm looking up in a game, I'll be looking up at the ceiling. I know there is a way, honestly, to adjust the actual display in the actual VR headset, so it'll always point in the direction you're facing. So if I move my body in a game and then the screen is pointed to the right per se, I can click a button and it'll fix the adjustment of the screen, so it'll be looking in front of me. But the problem is, in most games, or in all games, I can't find a way to adjust the screen. So I'm looking at the screen normally when I'm looking up, when I'm laying down. So that mostly means I'm looking at the ceiling in 99% of games, and that's absolutely frustrating. I need to really look into that, honestly, which is kind of annoying. And then another thing, since I'm already on this video, I do want to say that they do actually have two different stores you can download games on this thing. You can download games on the actual Oculus store, of course, which is already built on here. You don't have to do anything crazy. And then they do have an application on PC called SideQuest, and I highly recommend using SideQuest. It's legal and it is free. It's pretty much just a developer type of store for VR games that Facebook doesn't actually qualify as good games, but that's actually a shame. And don't be turned off by games that Oculus doesn't qualify as good, because honestly, a lot of games on there are very good. Like one game that's amazing if you're into first-person shooters, definitely have to be something called, I forgot the name of it, Polov, something. You'll see it in the store. It's a first-person shooter like Counter-Strike, and that game is one of the most realistic shooting games you will ever play in VR if you want to play that. So just look up like first-person shooters in VR, or the best shooting games in VR, and you'll come across that first-person shooter Counter-Strike game, and that game is amazing. And there's a couple of other games in the SideQuest store that aren't on the official Oculus store that are amazing. Just know you need a PC to install that, I do believe, and then you do have to do some tinkering around, and I know a lot of people aren't smart enough to do that, which is kind of unfortunate. And some of those games should actually be on the Oculus store by default, just because they're extremely good, and I don't feel like that they're games that should disqualify you. But yeah, that's pretty much it, and I think that's everything I wanted to cover about this VR headset. I went into so much depth in this video about my experiences with this thing, and yes, I don't regret buying this. And if there's another one that comes out in the next year, or if I get into PC VR gaming, I'm definitely going to try that, because for me personally, I love VR, and I am a person that does not get motion sickness, that does not feel discomfort, that does not get headaches from using VR headsets. I just love the world of VR headsets. And honestly, the last thing I'm going to say before I head out of here, I think everybody at some point in their life should try VR, because VR is definitely a different experience than something like playing a traditional video game on a flat screen of any kind. I think this is just something, and I think this maybe potentially could be the future of gaming, but I still think we're way too far away for it being the main way we game. I just think there is a lot of different things wrong with VR that couldn't make it the main way we game, at least at the current moment. But other than that, yes, this headset is definitely worth the money. Anyway, guys, this is Wayne from My